Now, with all the claims of voter fraud and recounts beginning in states, let's check in with a good friend here on the show. Our next guest, he's currently a Democrat and a member of the Georgia House of Representatives, and he's also a heck of a crowd surfer. Our buddy, Vernon Jones. Vernon, how you doing, sir?
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Probably would be doing a lot better if the media didn't jump over the weekend and do exactly what the New York Times tweeted about on Friday, then retracted, or Thursday, I think it was, saying that they shouldn't do, which is actually declare a winner. It's not the media's role to declare a winner, yet over the weekend, they did it, and then we saw Biden and Harris stand up there with fireworks galore. Hey, we have a president. We don't have a president-elect, do we, Vernon?
Well, let me tell you, the law, not the media, determines who's elected. And this is what the president was talking about even prior to the election about the potential fraud for mail-in ballots. But also, this is a prime example what the media has done to influence this election. The liberal media has, mainstream media, you call it, they come out with these fake polls, having people thinking that Joe Biden was 10 points ahead. One even said 17 points ahead. A lot of these liberal colleges, they do it, send it to the news media, they blast it. And that's voter suppression and voter suppression and depression, if you will, because one, they're getting people to believe, well, my candidate doesn't have a chance. At the same time, it's depressing when you think your candidate is losing. And so that is a part. They have done more to interfere with this election than China and Russia combined. Now, we all know that there is some fraud going on here, from Pennsylvania to Arizona to Georgia and Michigan. In Georgia, for example, this is no hearsay, but the largest precinct in the state of Georgia was having a vote count. About 10:30 that night, they told the poll watchers, which is by law, that they are allowed to be there on both sides. They were told to leave. The staff was tired. They were getting ready to go home. They removed them from the room, locked the door, and went back counting another 3 hours. Wait a minute, with no oversight, with no poll watchers, that's just one of few. And they're coming from one state, voting in another state. This thing is ripped with fraud, and the news media, you would think, would want to talk about this. And when they want to say that Donald Trump will not concede, well, they never said that about Stacey Abrams. Hell, she went 2 years. And she still hasn't conceded that she lost the election. As a matter of fact, the media spin on it is she almost won the election. Well, how do you almost win an election when you're 55,000 votes down from just getting into a runoff?
Right.
So it's the liberal media. They're shaping the narrative. But we Trumpers, we're not giving up. We're fighting here in Georgia. We have a legal team, including Lynn Wood. And if you don't think Lynn Wood is not good, ask CNN what he did for them and others with Sandman. We're going to fight this Sidney Powell at the head of this ring, the legal team. Let me tell you, the big guns are coming, and there are voters on the ground. There's so much energy. Protests are going on. Peacefully protests are going on with Trump supporters, by the way. Let me be clear about that. And we're just not going to give up. We're just not.
Yeah, 71 million people vote one way, and folks wake up and realize that potentially we have been screwed, and nobody's looting and rioting. No one on the right and conservatives aren't burning down businesses. No one's getting beat in the streets or, God forbid, killed. But we watched while the extreme liberal left all summer long, in the name of Black Lives Matter and who knows what else they were claiming, destroyed cities around this nation. Yet 71 plus million people who really, I think, feel like, whoa, this is not right, what's going on. What are we doing? We're doing it the right way, the legal way. Let's talk about Georgia, your state, because the last count I saw was so razor thin. Wasn't it like 1,500 or 1,700 votes? So it had to go into an automatic recount in your state because it was so close.
Yes, it's razor thin. There's still some provisional ballots that's supposed to be counted today. There's military ballots coming in. And let me tell you, we're diving in this because when we start removing those illegal ballots, you're going to see this president surge. I believe with all my heart, this whole thing was set up by the left to push that mail-in voting because that's the one place that they can manipulate, and they can go in and have people voting who should not have been voting. That's the one place you don't walk into the poll and you show them yourself and your visual ID versus making a copy of an ID that could be a fake ID and being mailed in. Mail-in voting is right for fraud.
Yeah, we've heard so many different testimonies from regular folks. These aren't politicians. These aren't lawyers representing Trump. These aren't friends of Trump like you are. These are regular citizens from Nevada and the Silver State, where you had the whistleblower come forward over the weekend. We just touched on that one, Vernon, where the guy said, I worked at the polls. I specifically heard supervisors telling us that they were going to do this and then kicking the observers out. In Pennsylvania, in Michigan, and maybe even your state, we've heard of people that the obituaries are 2, 6, 8 years old. In one case, like you heard right before you came on in Pennsylvania, the woman had died just days before. There's no way she could have cast her vote, yet poof, from the grave, people are voting. And I got a story coming up in a minute after you of a woman's dog that got registered and voted. I mean, how are we ever going to trust the voting process in this country again if we don't get to the bottom of this one?
And that's what it is. The left thought we were going to take this line down, and we're not. Because if we do, like your senator said from over South Carolina, it's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about transparency and the integrity and the fairness of an election. You would think the so-called fair fight group would be on our side, say, hey, this was not a fair fight. All of these allegations, this stuff is real. A lot of this is just true facts. And so where is Stacey Abrams in fair fight? If it were the other way around, they would be saying the same thing is not a fair fight. They would be looting, burning, and even killing. That's what they do. And that's Black Lives Matter, Antifa. And then you see the others like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They will not lift a finger to calm it down. And where is Joe now? And all of a sudden, I'm hearing the liberal media, Jake Tapper, say, well, the election is over. Now it's time to heal. Well, Jake Tapper created this divisiveness with these lies, with these fake polls, and nonstop of attack on the president. They created this division in this country.
I know.
Now, because their candidate won, now it's time for a peaceful resolution. And one final thing. Yeah. When Trump voters gather together, they call us super spreaders. Did you see how many super spreaders that was out over the weekend celebrating Joe Biden? Yeah. Did anybody say, hey, go back to your home, put your mask on, go to bed, whatever? Where was the media? They never call them super spreaders. Nope. So the biasness is there, and it's just ripped with unfairness.
The hypocrisy, the double standards from the left and from the media when they look at this presidency and his supporters and conservatives in general versus how they view the actions of the left and their supporters. The only word you can use is hypocrisy, plain and simple. Vernon Jones, thank you so much for coming on, man. Keep the faith. I know you're keeping up the fight there in your home state of Georgia. We will check back in with you over the next week or so because this is going to take several weeks, just like it did in 2000 when the Gore campaign used the law and took it to court. Didn't turn out the way they wanted it to, which it may not for President Trump. But guess what? Follow the process. Let's take it through the courts. Make sure every vote, legal vote, is counted. Vernon, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Now, OAN, I appreciate you all telling the news and not fake news and not hiding the news. I want to thank OAN, and as many people can watch OAN, please go and tune in because that's where you can get the real news from.
Thank you, Vernon. I have a feeling a lot of folks are going to be leaving that other network and coming on over to OAN. You take care, brother. We'll see you soon.
Peace out.
Yep. All right, some great news. A vaccine for the coronavirus almost complete, just as the president promised. Pharmaceutical company Pfizer just announcing today they've developed a vaccine that has shown a 90% effectiveness in preventing the virus. Now, the phase 3 clinical trial has proven the effectiveness of this vaccine. The president has said many times that he knows the companies are working diligently and they will create this one, he said, before the end of the year. Pfizer's chairman and the CEO, Albert Bourla, said today is a great day for science and humanity. The first set of results from our phase 3 COVID-19 vaccine trial provides the initial evidence of our vaccine's ability to prevent COVID-19. Now, if you can get Democrats and the lamestream media to stop saying they don't trust it because it came under this administration. The administration has nothing to do with the folks that are creating the vaccine, just so we all get that clear. The president announcing plans to host campaign-style rallies in key battleground states as the Trump campaign continues to file these legal battles in courts to combat the alleged voter fraud. Now, at the grassroots rallies, the president says he plans to highlight obituaries of people who have voted in the 2020 election. This evidence, along with a whole bunch more proof, the president says, will reinstate the ongoing voter fraud that is happening and denying the theft of this election. We are going to stay on top of this, folks. It's kind of the theme of this show and probably will be for days and days to come, because you are not getting the real story from most of the media out there, and obviously not from the Biden camp, that this election is not over. All right, coming up next after the break, and I'm probably going to repeat myself, if former President Joe Biden becomes the next president, if he becomes the next president, what will his first order of business be? Well, you might have kind of got an inclination today when he spoke to the nation. It involves those right there, wearing more masks. More on that when we come back.